May 3, 1988, Fort Worth, Texas. A federal prison in the flatlands outside the city. Inside a medical ward, a 73-year-old man is dying. He weighs less than he used to. He was 6'3" and 250 pounds when he ran his stretch of Brooklyn. Now his lungs are giving out, eaten through by a lifetime of Chesterfields. He has been here for years. He will not leave. His name is Paul Vario. He was a capo regime in the Lucchese crime family, and for 2 decades his crew ran its corner of Brooklyn the way a government runs a county. He controlled JFK Airport so completely that his own men bragged on FBI wiretaps that they owned it. Federal prosecutors who tried him called him one of the most violent and dangerous career criminals in the city of New York. He died in a prison medical ward, half a country away from every street he owned. The man responsible was a kid he had taken off a street corner in Brownsville, Brooklyn, in 1955. 2 years after Vario died, Martin Scorsese made a movie. The character was called Paul Cicero. Paul Sorvino played him, calm, measured, a father figure who slices garlic paper thin in a prison kitchen. Cicero never raises his voice. He projects wisdom. In the film's logic, he is a man of dignity. That is what Hollywood gave you. Here is what the record gives you. The real Paul Vario carried a rape conviction. He did time at Sing Sing. He was paroled twice and went back both times. He was not released for good until he was 47 years old. And when federal prosecutors finally put him away at the end, they did not describe a dignified elder statesman. They described a career criminal with half a century of record behind him. Goodfellas is a great film, but it softened Vario into something he was not. It skipped the years at Sing Sing. It left out the rape conviction. It showed you the hijackings at the airport and not the extortion machine that came after. And it gave Paul Cicero a quiet ending somewhere off-screen. The real Paul Vario got no such mercy. This is the real story of Paul Vario, the Lucchese capo regime who built Henry Hill from nothing and died in a federal cell in Texas because of it. In 1914, in New York City, Pietro Vario and his wife Mary, immigrants from Erice, Sicily, have a son. They name him Paul. The family settles in Brooklyn, in the kind of neighborhood where the streets run close and everyone knows everyone's business. Paul Vario grows up hard. By 1925, when he is 11 years old, he is already in trouble. A Brooklyn court sentences him to 7 months in juvenile detention for truancy. Not theft, not fighting, truancy. He was skipping school so often, the city locked him up for it. That is where this story begins. The arrests accumulate through the 1930s. Burglary, robbery, petite larceny. His name appears in police reports the way certain names do, regularly, predictably, like a recurring bill. Then, in 1937, something worse. Vario and an associate named Anthony Romano are identified by a 16-year-old girl from Howard Beach as the men who assaulted her. Both are convicted of rape. Paul Vario is sentenced to 10 years at Sing Sing prison. He is 23 years old. He is paroled. He violates parole. He goes back. He is paroled again. He violates parole again on burglary and stolen property charges. He goes back again. Paul Vario is not done with Sing Sing until 1962. He has been in and out of that prison for 25 years. The Lucchese crime family was waiting for him when he got out. He was inducted as a made man almost immediately. By the mid-1960s, he is a capo regime, running his own crew out of 2 locations in KENRAC, Brooklyn. The first is Gefkin's Bar on Flatlands Avenue. The second is a junkyard at 572 Avenue D, Vario's Bargain Auto Parts, a trailer inside a lot full of stripped cars, where Vario held court. His brother Vito, called Tuddy, ran the cab stand over on Euclid Avenue and a pizza place called Presto Pizzeria nearby. The crew's territory stretched from East New York and Brownsville through Canarsie and Flatlands, out into Queens and onto Long Island. They ran illegal gambling, loan sharking, hijacking, fencing, and then there was JFK Airport, which Vario treated like a personal bank. His crew controlled the cargo haulers' unions, 2 or 3 trucks a week, hijacked at peak operation. When federal investigators started looking too closely, Vario threatened labor strikes. The trucks stopped moving. The investigation slowed. The trucks started moving again, minus whatever the crew wanted. FBI wiretaps in the 1980s caught Lucchese associates saying it plainly. They owned JFK. Henry Hill, who worked inside this machine for 25 years, put it more simply. To him, the airport was Citibank. Vario kept a converted bank vault that he showed to select associates, and he claimed it held over $1 million in cash. Whether that was true or not, the men around him believed it. In organized crime, belief is often enough. His operational security was extraordinary. No phone calls for business, nothing in his name. One-on-one meetings only. He left almost no paper trail for investigators to follow. For years, that discipline kept him close to untouchable. In the early 1970s, under Lucchese boss Carmine Tramunti, Vario served as unofficial consigliere. Some accounts put him briefly in the acting underboss role. When Anthony Corallo took over the family and elevated Salvatore Santoro to underboss, Vario's formal rank settled back to capo regime, but his actual power was not diminished. His crew was one of the most productive in the family. The bosses needed him. Nicholas Pileggi, who wrote Wise Guy, the book Goodfellas was based on, noted that Vario projected lethargy. He moved slowly. He spoke quietly. He seemed, to people who did not know better, like a large, sleepy man with no particular ambition. Federal prosecutors knew better. Now, 1955, Brownsville, Brooklyn. A boy named Henry Hill lives on Pitkin Avenue, across from the Euclid Avenue cab stand. He was born June 11, 1943, in Manhattan. His father, Henry Hill Sr., is an Irish-American electrician. His mother, Carmela, is Sicilian. Because of his Irish father, Henry will never be eligible for membership in the Lucchese family. The mob's rules demanded full Italian blood. Henry Hill will spend his entire career as an associate. He will never have the formal protection that comes with being made. What he will have instead is Paul Vario. Vario's brother Tuddy runs the cab stand. The boy wanders in looking for an after-school job. Tuddy puts him to work. He runs errands. He fetches coffee. He watches the men at the tables, and he learns. Vario takes notice of the kid. There is something there. An instinct, a hunger, a willingness to do what he is told without asking questions. Still a boy, Hill meets James Burke at a card game. Burke is already a serious criminal, and he is dazzled by what he sees in the kid. In 1957, Vario's brothers arrange a union card for Hill in the bricklayers' local, and a no-show job to go with it. Hill leaves high school for good. He works exclusively for the Vario crew. He is not yet 15 years old, and he is already inside. Over the next 25 years, Vario builds Henry Hill into one of the crew's most productive earners. He teaches him how the business works. He gives him protection. When Hill gets in trouble, Vario's name makes the trouble smaller. In 1965, Vario arranges for Hill to join his son Paul Jr. for a night out, a double date. Hill meets Karen Friedman that evening. He marries her. Vario is so woven into Hill's life that he is present at the edges of almost everything. But here is where it gets complicated. Hill could never be made, and that gap between what Hill was and what he could never become would matter more than anyone understood at the time. In 1967, Hill and the crew rob Air France at JFK Airport. They take approximately $420,000. It is a clean job, no arrests. The money moves through the crew and disappears. JFK is working exactly as designed. Then, in 1973, the federal government catches Vario on tax evasion. In April of that year, he is sentenced to 6 years at Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary in Pennsylvania. He goes to Mafia Row, the informal section of Lewisburg where mob figures from multiple families live in proximity, running their operations through carefully managed visits and coded communication. Vario is not out of the business. He is running it from a different location. He is released in 1975. He moves temporarily to a residence near Miami while on parole. His brother Tuddy runs the crew in his absence. Vario comes back. He always comes back. And the operation at JFK keeps growing. December 11th, 1978, 3 a.m., JFK Airport, Building 261, the Lufthansa Airlines cargo terminal. 6 masked men arrive in a black Ford van. They are armed. They know the building's layout. They know the safe combinations. They know the shift schedule. That knowledge came from a Lufthansa cargo supervisor named Louis Werner, who passed the tip to a bookmaker named Martin Krugman, who passed it to Henry Hill, who carried it to Jimmy Burke, who brought it to Vario. Vario approved the job from Florida and put Burke in charge of it. Burke was living in a federal halfway house in Manhattan at the time. He coordinated the heist from there. In 64 minutes, the crew cleans out the cargo terminal. $5 million in cash, close to another million in jewelry, nearly $6 million in 1978 money. To that point, no one in America had stolen more cash in a single robbery. Vario's share moved up the chain the way tribute always did, quietly, in cash, with nothing written down. Then Jimmy Burke started killing everyone who knew about it. December 18th, 1978. A week out from the heist, in an apartment in Ozone Park, Parnell Edwards, the man who was told to make the getaway van disappear and left it parked on a Brooklyn street instead, takes 5 bullets. The van is the reason the crew gave. This channel's film on Stax Edwards tells the rest of that story. January 6, 1979. Martin Krugman, the bookmaker at the start of the tip chain, disappears. The surviving accounts put Jimmy Burke and Angelo Sepe behind it. January 14, 1979. Tommy DeSimone disappears. Years earlier, he had killed a made man of the Gambino family, Billy Batts, without permission. That debt never expired. By the accounts left behind, DeSimone heard he was finally being made, dressed for the occasion, and climbed into a car headed nowhere near a ceremony. No one saw him again. March 1979. Louis Cafora, the man the crew called Roast Beef, and his wife Joanna vanish. Cafora had bought a Cadillac Fleetwood with heist money, white on the outside, pink leather inside. The car made him visible. The 2 of them were never found. May 1979. 2 more of the crew, McMahon and Manry, are found shot in a parked car. By that summer, 7 months out from the robbery, at least 9 of the people around the heist were dead or missing. Only 1 man was ever convicted for the robbery itself, Louis Werner, the inside man. 15 years. Burke was never charged for the heist. Neither was Vario. The machine had worked. The witnesses were dead or gone. The money was spread thin, and the investigation had nothing left to hold. But something else was happening inside the crew. Henry Hill had started dealing drugs: cocaine, heroin, marijuana, quaaludes. He was moving product without Vario's permission, violating the crew's strict prohibition on narcotics trafficking. By Hill's own account, Vario found out, confronted him, and threw him out of the crew for a time. In Vario's world, drug dealing brought a specific kind of heat: federal narcotics charges, longer sentences, more desperate men who might talk. It was bad business, and it was dangerous. Hill kept dealing. April 27, 1980. Hill is arrested on narcotics trafficking charges. He is facing a minimum of 25 years in federal prison. In custody, by the account Hill gave ever afterward, federal agents played him a tape, Vario and Burke, discussing whether to have him killed. The courts never had to test that story. What the record keeps is what Hill did next. He had a choice. He could stay loyal to men he believed were planning to murder him, or he could talk. Hill talked. May 27, 1980. Henry Hill signs a cooperation agreement with the Department of Justice Organized Crime Strike Force. He enters witness protection with his wife Karen and their 2 children, Greg and Gina. The family is relocated to Omaha, Nebraska, then Independence, Kentucky, then Redmond, Washington, then Seattle. Nicholas Pileggi put the loss in plain terms. Hill had grown up inside the mob. He was only a mechanic in that world, but he knew everything. He knew how it worked, who oiled the machinery, and where the bodies were buried. Hill's testimony produced 50 convictions. 50. February 1984. Paul Vario is convicted of a fraud against the federal government. The specific charge: Hill had testified that Vario arranged a fictitious restaurant job, a job that did not exist, to get Hill paroled early from prison. The fraud was small in dollar terms. The sentence was not. 4 years in a federal prison plus a $10,000 fine. Vario was already 69 years old. Then, while he is sitting in that sentence, the second indictment arrives. February 1985. The KENRAC racketeering case. Federal prosecutors charge Vario with squeezing over $350,000 out of the air freight companies working JFK. The method: Vario's crew controlled the cargo haulers' unions. If a company refused to pay, the union caused problems: strikes, slowdowns, cargo that did not move. The companies paid. This had been running for years. Hill's cooperation had opened the door to it. Vario is convicted. He receives an additional 10 years. He is 70 years old. He is serving combined sentences that he has no realistic chance of surviving. He has smoked Chesterfields since he was a young man. His lungs are failing. The boy he made had put him away twice. There is one more piece of this story that Goodfellas did not show. The Vario family paid a price Henry Hill had no part in. In July 1973, with the tax sentence only months old, Vario's son Leonard was dropped at the doors of Wyckoff Heights Medical Center in Brooklyn. The burns ran across more than 90% of his body. He had been involved in an arson scheme. He died on October 6, 1973, at 27 years old. At the funeral, mourners went after 2 television cameramen, and a detective who had come to watch the crowd was beaten. Vario's second wife, Phyllis, died July 30, 1975. She was 38. No cause was ever clearly documented. She was buried with the Varios at St. John Cemetery in Queens. Of Vario's 3 sons, Peter disappears from the public record entirely after the crew collapsed. Paul Jr., born in 1938, moved to Delray Beach, Florida, married, raised 4 children, and died in August 2019 at 81. His obituary said nothing about his father, nothing about Goodfellas, nothing about the Lucchese family. He had chosen distance and silence, and it worked. Vario's 4 brothers all worked in the crew. Salvatore, called Babe, handled the police payoffs and ran the card games. He died in 1976. Thomas kept the loan shark and gambling books. He died in 1984. The eldest, Leonard, died in 1981. And Tuddy, the brother who had pulled a boy named Henry Hill in off the street in 1955, ran the crew while Paul finished his parole in Florida. He died in 1988 too, the year Fort Worth took Paul. All 5 Vario brothers and Phyllis are buried at St. John's Cemetery. The crew did not die with him either. Early in the 2000s, what remained of it was folded into the Lucchese family's Brooklyn operation, and a man who had come up under the Varios was serving as the family's acting underboss as recently as 2020. The line from Paul Vario's junkyard trailer to the top of a New York crime family, 3 decades after his death, is unbroken. And in all those years, no Vario has ever given the interview everyone would want. The rule Paul Vario lived by, keep your name off everything, became the family's inheritance. Henry Hill did the opposite. After 1980, Hill moved through city after city in witness protection. In 1987, he was arrested again on drug charges in Seattle, and the program cut him loose. Karen filed for divorce in 1990, and the divorce dragged on. He spent his remaining years giving interviews, selling his story, writing cookbooks, opening restaurants that failed. He died of heart failure in Los Angeles on June 12, 2012, one day after his 69th birthday, publicly known, his face on a movie poster. Paul Vario died May 3, 1988, in federal custody at Fort Worth, Texas. Age 73. Respiratory failure. He never saw Goodfellas. The film came out 2 years after he was buried at St. John's Cemetery. The movie gave Paul Cicero a dignity the record does not support. It gave him calm, where the prosecutors documented violence. It gave him wisdom, where the documented history shows a man who spent more years inside a prison than outside one. It skipped the rape conviction. It skipped Sing Sing. It skipped what the crew did to the men around the Lufthansa heist. It let him disappear quietly from the story. The real Paul Vario got no quiet disappearance. He got a federal indictment while already serving a federal sentence. He got a Texas prison. He got lungs that gave out before any court gave him a release date. In the world of organized crime, the only sin that gets punished reliably is loyalty. Betrayal is rewarded. Paul Vario spent 25 years building Henry Hill. He gave him a job, a career, a marriage, and a name that kept him safe. Henry Hill spent one day signing a piece of paper that ended all of it. Vario died in Fort Worth. Hill died in Los Angeles. Neither man died the way he lived. The family plot at St. John's Cemetery holds most of what the Vario name produced across 3 generations. The stone is there, the name is on it, and no one who carries it has ever stood in front of a camera to explain what it means. That silence is the last thing Paul Vario ever taught them, and unlike almost everything else he passed on, it kept them alive. So answer the question this story leaves behind. Did Henry Hill make the right call, or did he owe Paul Vario a loyalty that should have held no matter what was on that tape? Tell us below. We're reading every comment. And the rest of this crew already lives on this channel. Jimmy Burke, who ran the Purge, is here in full. So is Karen Hill, who lived Henry's story from inside the marriage. Both are one tap away when this ends. And if this story stayed with you, subscribe, because this channel is already writing the next one.